Welcome to Kingdom Community South Africa. This is the youth program presented by the Kingdom Youth. In a world influenced by status, fame, charm, and deception, we, the youth of the Kingdom of God, are living amidst a world culture. There may come a time where we conform to standards of the world, backslide, and maybe even compromise our salvation in this desolate and vain environment. Being exposed to this negative environment is not a problem. We are to expect adversity, trials, and tribulations. However, as children of God, if we are not influencing the kingdom of God in this environment, that is the problem. Join us as we learn and discover our mandate and authority as children of God to influence the kingdom of God in our world today.
Good evening, Kingdom Youth. My name is Ambassador Jackie, and I welcome you back again to another one of our wonderful briefings. So as we all know, in the month of August, we were covering the topic of how to develop yourself as a leader, as a young person. And we had many speakers who came on and they really gave us a lot of nuggets. So we only saw it fitting that for this month of September that we continue with the same topic. However, we are going to be delving deeper into those topics. So tonight, myself and Ambassador Precious, we're going to be covering topics that were actually part of my briefing, which was all about the 5 keys of leadership. The one that we're going to be looking at, which is very important, is discipline in leadership. So how to remain disciplined as a leader. Then the second one that we're also going to be looking at is all about what is your motive behind wanting to become a leader. So I'm going to be having Ambassador Precious, who's going to be joining me tonight, and we're going to be delving deeper into those topics. I'd like to welcome Ambassador Precious.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Good evening to the Kingdom Youth and everybody who is watching and joining us online. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to those topics. Cannot wait to delve into them with you. Thank you for having me.
So the first topic, Precious, that I actually want us just to, discuss. So this is very exciting for me because me and you, I think we've had a lot of conversations outside of this space. So I'm really looking forward to just us sharing some of that. And also just looking at, some of the experiences we've maybe had that can also help our viewers.
Absolutely.
So the first one we're going to start discussing is all about discipline, how a young person, how you guys as young people can remain disciplined as you continue in this journey of leadership. Because discipline, as I mentioned in my briefing, that it is something that's very important and very pressing. So what are your thoughts? What's the first thought that comes to your mind?
If we're talking about discipline, that is actually a trait that goes hand in hand with leadership. I don't know of any leader that has been effective in what they do who didn't have to master the trait of leadership, of discipline. So when we're talking about discipline, we're talking about, maybe let's look at what discipline is. It's actually related to leading self. It's basically saying if you can win at leading self, you can be able to win at leading others. So that's the first thought that comes to mind. I don't know what is it that you would like to share regarding that?
So I think that's quite interesting that you actually chose to start it there, because I think a lot of young people, when they think about discipline and discipline in line with leadership, they always think about other people first, but forgetting that you actually need to lead yourself first. You need to be disciplined, as an individual before you can even extend that to whoever you are actually leading,
Absolutely.
So what would you say, personally, has been one, how can I put this, a highlight that has stood out for you in your leadership journey in terms of self-discipline? Maybe you could highlight 1 or 2 things that you feel you've learned, or things maybe you've struggled with and how maybe you managed to overcome.
If I can refer back to my journey, looking back from when I was young up until now,
Hmm.
I would say that looking at myself now where I am,
Mm-hmm.
I got an epiphany moment when I realized that there are actually certain things that makes discipline natural.
Okay.
It's not something that we need to struggle with or something that you need to strive for so much. And one of those things are, actually the key thing is vision. If you are able to capture a vision about anything that you want to do, that vision then serves as the motivator for you to be disciplined, because it calls for you to do certain things. It requires you to be a certain person. It requires you to limit certain things and not allow certain things in your life, because you know, it can be in anything at all.
Okay,
If you
so let
have-
me just stop you there.
yeah.
I know with me personally, when I think about what you're saying, if I actually think back, I think one of the things that challenged me, like for example in high school, when I was like a prefect, you know, an SRC, for example, one of the things that challenged me was like in terms of me being conscious of who I'm actually surrounding myself with. Because you know how it is in high school, we all go through those peer pressures where you want to, you know, fit in, you want to be liked, you also want to be that girl that people talk about. But then I remember moments where I would actually have to remember that, yo, I'm a prefect. So because of that, everything I do, people are actually watching me. So even if maybe a certain group of girls is inviting me to something or wants me to participate in a certain thing, some other things I couldn't always participate because I had to remind myself that there are people that I'm leading, there are people who are watching me. Even if I'm participating in a certain thing and according to me, it might be something innocent, but I always had to remind myself that how is someone else going to interpret this? Or someone might go to one of the teachers and say, I actually remember a time, if a friend of mine is watching this, she will remember this so clearly. So we used to have PT, you know, these were days where we do physical exercises during the week with a teacher. So what happened is that specific day, I wasn't feeling so well, you know. So I remember I told this friend of mine that I'm not gonna participate today because I'm not feeling well. So then she wasn't a prefect, and then she said, no, it's fine. We'll just sit by the stairs, by the pavilion, and talk. You know. So then it happened that there were these other boys from this other grade. I think they were also doing PT. So they actually called us to talk to us, but it was nothing dodgy. It was just a normal conversation between school kids. So then it happened that someone actually saw us, you know, and then I remember it was close to the end of the day. They actually announced on the intercom that we're being called to the principal's office. And then we went to the principal's office. Obviously, getting called to the principal's office, you're scared and you're thinking, yo, what's going on? And when we got there, the principal was basically reprimanding us, saying that instead of being in PT, and this side I'm wearing my uniform as a leader, we were seen standing with boys. And it was this big thing, to the point where they even wanted to call our parents, you know. So then that's when I had to explain that, no sir, this is what happened, etc., etc. You know, it might seem like something very funny to one of the viewers, but it's just an example I thought about now, where you need to be disciplined and just be cognizant of the fact that your actions are actually being watched when you are in a leadership position, that it's not just about you. You're not just living for you anymore. So I think for me, from that day, I started to become more conscious, to discipline myself, to say, okay, Jackie, you need to actually think about decisions that you're making, people that you're around, you know, even if something might look innocent, but you need to just take a step back and think from an outside perspective, how could this possibly be perceived?
Absolutely.
Yes. Then is there anything maybe that comes to mind for you, even maybe varsity days or in your young adult life?
If I can go back to that point of that I shared about vision. Remember, vision is what you see on the inside. It's between you and your eyes on the inside that cannot be perceived by others. So you know what you want to achieve in a certain area. It can be in sport, it can be in your academics, it can be in your anything at all that you want to do. You see that outcome that you want to achieve. And as far as it relates to discipline, then what it does is it focuses you, right? And it limits, or it sort of like directs you to say, what sort of things can you allow? What kind of people can you allow in your circle, as you are now talking about your experience with your friends and everything. For me, what it did is it allowed me to, it served as a sift to say, this is the kind of company you can allow. Because that plays a big role. Influence from others when you are young, at any point in life anyway, because you become, actually the people who are around you influence you. They will either become like you or you become like them. There is an exchange of energies.
True.
You know. So then that sort of like gives you direction to say, but this doesn't look like the kind of environment I want to be in, or that can serve this thing that I want to achieve, or this thing that I want to do. So then already it has served as a sift. And it also serves as far as discipline is concerned, as a drive, you know, to say even in days where you don't feel like doing something. Let's talk about academics, for example.
Yes.
You want to achieve this academics. If I would refer back to myself. I wasn't really a sporty person growing up, but my academics were in check. And unfortunately, the situation at home was not so nice, but I was able to pull through because I knew what I wanted. I had that end goal. And that served as a direction to say, for you to be able to get there, these are the things that you need to do. So then I focus on that. And
what would you say are like some of those things, if you
like
think back?
Studying.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, focusing on taking away time to say, if I'm going to achieve this in my academics, I need to be able to allocate time. And it comes naturally because this is a prerequisite, it's a requirement, right? So, that's one example that I would refer back to. And even currently in my adult life, I find that it's something that is continuous. If you can be able to capture what you want to achieve, it sort of like serves as an automatic, motivator for you to be disciplined in an area.
So I just want to go back to what you actually said about doing things even when it's not nice. Because I remember in my briefing, it's something I actually highlighted. And I think sometimes when you are in a leadership position, not everything is always going to be nice, you know. Because I was actually thinking how, usually when you start something off, maybe you're starting a new course to study at the beginning of the year, or a project, or you're starting a small business with your friends, or a new job. It's always fun and exciting in the beginning because there's so many new things to learn and you're exposed to different environments. But then that moment when that first challenge comes, it's like it comes as a question mark. It's now actually confronting you to say, are you sure about this? Is this what you really want to do? Do you want to continue? And as you continue, there are those, situations where it's a bit difficult, or you'll find maybe you're facing personal challenges at home, family, maybe financially things are not going well, or even personally, maybe you're facing health issues. Like we know nowadays with a lot of young people, things like anxiety, depression, those things are really a reality. And this side, you want to study, but mentally you're not in the right space of mind, whatever the case might be. So I just also want to just add on to what you said, that it's very important to just have that mindset to tell yourself that I'm going to keep pushing on. Even when it's hard. I mean, I know, thinking back with me, the things that actually helped me, just also for the viewers, I think I would say having that support structure, even if it's just that one person, guys, that you can call, that you can open up to, even
Absolutely.
if you're speaking things that are nonsensical, but just to have someone that's your outlet. Because the moment you're just bottling everything inside, that's when it's pushing you down and pushing you down. So to actually have someone that you can speak to, you know, it makes a big, it doesn't have to be a professional, it makes a huge difference because they're on the other side. They don't have the same perspective that you have because they're not in the situation. So they are able to come with something positive to say, no, but don't forget, like you said, the vision. This is why you decided to go on this journey. This is what you want to achieve. Remember your situation at home. Remember where you said you want to be in 5 years from now.
Absolutely.
So it's always nice just to have someone who can just be that voice of reason, who can be that filter for you. Because also remember that when you find yourself in those situations where it's not so nice, you're also not thinking in your sober mind because you're in your emotions, in your feelings, because you're feeling stressed out. So it's very, very important. I know that's what helped me, guys. And another thing I would say that helped me, which might sound old-fashioned, but I had a journal. I still have a journal to this day because sometimes some other things, it's not easy to disclose to people, or you feel shy, or you feel... So I literally have a journal where it's like, that's my outlet, where I will just write what I feel, and I'll just start writing and writing and writing and writing. And then a day or two later, I'll go back and read it because obviously I'll be feeling better. Then that will help me to reflect and say, okay, this is what was happening, this is where I am now. So I think I would say to have a positive outlet, because sometimes as young people, hey, we turn to alcohol, drugs, parties, all these things, you know, to actually distract our minds when we are feeling like it's not that easy. So just to find things, I think for young people, that's a healthy outlet, you know.
Sure. You know what, Jackie? You are triggering me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that because one of the things I think that I don't want to say we're a negative contributor, but they played a role that may not necessarily would have served me well in those days, is the situations that were happening at home.
Yes.
And lack of what you are saying. Because another thing I wanted to share that I feel contributes positively towards being disciplined as a leader is having strong values. And those people, when you are young, you need people who can hold you accountable.
Yes.
You need actually people, before you can even be held accountable for anything, you need people who can provide the moral, I don't want to say standards, I don't know, which word am I looking for? Who can provide that clock or that direction or that basis, you know?
Almost like role models, and not to necessarily say that it's people that you've chosen, you know?
Exactly.
Like I know, for example, not to interrupt you, but like with me, I know, for example, I'd always think about my older sister. She's always set such a good example. So somehow, some way, I always had her in the back of my head. I'd think about my parents, you know? And somehow, even though they were not physically there with me, but somehow their voices were always in the back of my mind, where I'm like, Jackie, remember where you come from. Remember how you were raised. Remember, you know, your family's esteem. You don't want to disappoint, not just that I didn't want to disappoint them, but it would sort of remind me of those values of who I am when I would find myself in those situations, you know?
Yes, and you know, it's very sad that right now there is youth that is watching this. Deep down they know they are seeking for something better than where they are, which is where I was, but they don't know where to find that. You know, when you know that there's something dysfunctional about your situation or where you are, and it's affecting the outcome of how things can be, or affecting how you show up, affecting your contribution.
Yes, of
because
course.
you are so pulled down by situations and circumstances. So, like you said, it doesn't necessarily need to be people in your immediate circle. I remember, because I'm so inclined to entrepreneurship, I remember the one person that used to motivate me a lot in those days was Basi Kumalo. I wanted someone close, someone I can relate with. You know, I know there are a lot more that I can refer to. And, you know, if you look into her story and how she got to be where she is, it wasn't always rosy and everything. And I just always referred back to her as like a role model, if you want to call it that. But if I have to bring it close to home, I found that the things that I was able to find in my adult life, if those were the things that I had found before, they would have altered certain things in such a way, without speaking as if I am regretting how things turned out to be.
No, definitely not.
I think what I want to say with this is strong values, which also relate to having character, you know, because when you have integrity, when you know about honesty and all of those things, then it becomes easy for you to discipline. It's just I think discipline is a byproduct of certain things. It just happens automatically when certain things are in check, when the values are in check, the morals are in check, you have the vision for what you want to do,
your surroundings,
you understand those things, then
they lead you towards discipline.
You understand? They produce this thing. Then the discipline, then what it does is it leads you to a point whereby you produce. Now you become productive because you are on this thing. And discipline doesn't necessarily mean only to produce, but it's also to say no to things that don't serve you. The ability to be able to say, but you know, no to this. It doesn't.
Like for example, I just want to use another practical example. I remember when I started working. Yeah, when you start working, you know, you're excited because now you're getting this salary and you've got this job and you've got your own place, you know, and you get more exposed to things that you were not exposed to before. And I remember with me, one of the things I had to learn is financial discipline.
There's that.
Financial discipline is something I had to learn, because when you first get money, you're so excited. You wanna, you know, go for lunch. You want to go out every weekend. You want to buy, when you see new clothes, you're so excited. You're looking forward to getting that car that you want. And sometimes those things can even make you to end up finding yourself in debt unaware. Because now you're like, oh, now I qualify for a clothing account. Okay, I'm going to go for it. Now I qualify for a credit card. I'm going to go for it, you know. I think that's actually a topic we can cover again in another session, all about how to be financially disciplined as a young person. So also just learning. And for me, it was a learning process, you know, to learn that, okay, certain things I need to say no. Even if that friend is saying, let's go for lunch, I need to know I've set my budget, and if my budget is only allowing me to go for lunch once a month, I need to say, I'm sorry, I can't make it. If I know I've got work commitments, and for example, I know it's a Sunday, I need to prepare for work on the Monday, I can't be socializing until late because I come back home, I'm tired, now I'm not prepared for work, you know? So just like what you're saying, having those boundaries, setting those boundaries in your life, you know, and I think it's very important. Just going back to discipline, it's something that just sprung into my mind right now, thinking back about when you're saying no to certain things, because also now, if financially you're not disciplined, you've got these goals that you've set. Now it becomes hard to reach those goals, or you feel like things are moving so slow. But forgetting that, no, last week you were swiping at such and such a shop for such and such, you know, an outfit, forgetting that, oh no, I said this is my goal, you know. So just to go back to what you're saying, knowing what to say yes and what to say no to, especially when you're young, and sometimes you're still excited about so many things, just that discipline, the vision, it helps you to bring yourself back and say, where am I going? What is it that I need to do to get there? What is it that I mustn't do to get there?
Focus, precious, absolutely. Yo, if you're talking about financial discipline, it really is a topic for another day. The mistakes we have made, I think due to not being properly prepared. I think also not having a relationship with money prior. So now here you are exposed, and it's like you are, you know, not used to having this thing. I think prior preparation and a relationship with money before. So it means that it helps when you are young to put yourself in a situation where you can have a relationship with money from the one that you get from your parents, establish a side hustle like a business that you can do, so that you get used to having an income, you get used to having financial goals and how to achieve them, you know, big goals that you don't want to have your parents
Yes.
help you with.
Yeah.
And then from there, you learn about budgeting, you learn patience, you learn to wait,
Yes.
you learn to restrict yourself. I think that's where the discipline comes in.
Restriction goes with
You know,
discipline.
yes,
Yeah.
that's where it comes in to say, okay, so if I want to achieve this, if my goal, like for example, my daughter wants to set up a studio for 123. If my goal is to get headsets, Apple headsets, they are 11,000. It means that I can only go so far with indulging, you know,
Yes.
with money.
Yes.
Because I have this specific goal that I want to achieve. Not to say that I'm not going to have the things that I would like to have, a little bit of fun here and there.
Yes,
but
of
I
course.
don't go all out because there is this thing
You're
that I need
limited.
to do. Yes, you are limited. And so then it becomes easier. So when you are young, the money that you get, develop a healthy relationship with money as soon as now. And by the time you get to a point where you are handling even more money, you already know, you know, the whole budgeting scenario
Yes.
and the patience thing and the waiting things out and how to generate even more income.
Of
if you want.
course.
There's a lot. There's
Yeah.
a lot in that.
So
But
there's a lot, definitely. I feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, I like what we're saying because, like you're saying, some of these things, that's why, you know, Kingdom Youth, we do these sessions because we've also realized that some of these teachings, if we had them 5, 10, 15 years ago, not saying we're that old, but if we had those teachings, we could have made different decisions. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Ambassador Precious, I had a great time engaging with you on this platform. I think there was so much that was said that we can definitely take as young people. I think for me, the highlight was where we said discipline equals resistance. So knowing what to say yes to, but also knowing what to say no to. So let's just try and take these things and use them in our leadership journeys as young people. And I'm pretty sure you will definitely see yourself getting closer to where you want to be. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to join us again on our next briefing because we are going to continue going deeper into how to develop yourself as a leader. We're going deeper into these topics. If you haven't had a chance to look at our briefings from August, I think this is the right opportunity to actually go back on them so that when we are talking, at least you are also, you know, aligned with us. Thank you and good night.